like if you had to pick, I've asked this to a guest before. Is Josh and I are both big movie buffs, and if you had to pick one movie that you had this is the only movie you could watch for the rest of your life. So some people, because you got to think about it, because some people would be like, well, I like action, so I would. But if you think about, oh man, I don't know if I want to watch that on repeat. You know what I mean? Like, right. What movie is the one movie that you think sort of defines you? You'd watch all the time.
You ready for this one?
I'm ready.
Clue.
Really?
I love Clue. I can watch Clue until the day I die.
That is not the answer I would have expected at all.
I love Clue. It's my favorite movie ever.
It had, was it Tim Curry was the butler? Yeah. It had a lot of big names in it.
It really did. It had a lot of big comedy names in it.
It's the one.
And the timing and the pacing is on point.
I almost said, is that the one with the little hand? But that's the
scary movie.
That's the scary movie version, isn't it?
Scary movie too. Yeah.
I watched Clue last year. Madeline had never seen it. And I was like, you got to watch this. Because I remember as a kid just thinking it was great. And I watched it. And it was still all right. It held up decent. I don't know if it's what I want to watch forever, though. I said Predator.
Predator's pretty good. That's
because every time it's on, man, I'll watch that thing. It gets you riled up. Right. Gets me motivated.
There's a lot of movies that are like that where it'll just derail my day if it's on. You walk through my mom's house like, hey, we're watching this? Okay. So yeah, there's lots of those. But we used to watch movies all the time, which you and I, again, are old enough to remember. Like, you go to the VHS store, you're coming out with a movie.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter.
We've talked about this, but I talked about this with, I forget who was on, and we were discussing it. Because I had... it
might have been Bronson.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was... I think it was Bronson, because we were talking about Nightmare Sisters.
Yeah.
But I was talking about as a young adolescent Jerry Mason, a lot of times our movie choices was based on what scandally clad stuff was in the movie, because... you're a young gentleman, and it's a roll of the dice on which one you're going to get if it's got any of that kind of stuff. But a lot of those B and C level horror movies and action movies had just randomness in it,
Right.
And the acting, of course, was terrible, but there was so many of them. But yeah, no, we were a big fan of them too. Any of the martial art ones I was all about. So I was getting all those you're talking about, those ninja ones, all that stuff I used to watch.
I've seen Revenge of Ninja so many times.
Yeah, and I want to say that the Cannon films, didn't they do the Chuck Norris ones too? Wasn't it Cannon that did? Because he did a bunch of his early action movies were, questionable.
Yeah, because, Bruce Lee did so well, and Jackie Chan was doing good, so Menahem Golan was like, hey, I need a guy that's the face of my martial arts films.
Yeah. As he did, what was one he did? It was like Into the Octagon.
The Octagon, yeah.
Or something about an octagon.
Yeah, I think it's just called The Octagon.
And I remember that it starts with somebody getting killed by like a ninja, by like a samurai sword, and that this FBI forensics person was like, oh, that's a trained person that killed them with shuriken ninja stars. And then we got to bring in an expert, so they bring in Chuck Norris. He's ready to go.
What I remember about that movie is there's a lot of internal dialogue by Chuck Norris, and for whatever reason, they made the let's call it a fantastic decision to have him whisper that dialogue.
Yeah.
So he's like, "You are my friend. You are my brother. Why would you do that?" I'm like, really?